I want to bring in retired Major General David Fraser. He's a former commando of NATO forces in southern Afghanistan. Good morning. Good to see you. I want to get your take on what's happening on the outskirts of Kyiv. What do you think the Russians are waiting for? And if they do enter Kyiv, what's that going to look like?
Marcia, it's good to be with you this morning. I think we have to start with Kharkiv. And yesterday, the indiscriminate shelling of the city square, including with cluster bombs, that is what we should be expecting from a typical Russian attack. The first wave wasn't effective, so now they're going to go back to the old ways, which is heavy bombardment, like what we saw. And cluster bombs is against the UN convention, which the Russians have not signed, but we have. And then we've got a convoy sitting outside of Kiev, 65 kilometers long, which is ominous for the people of Kiev. And then this morning, the defense minister has warned that he's prepared to shell Kiev. And so, what is happening with Kiev? The warning was yesterday with Kharkiv. Today, we've got a minister warning, which could also be their way of trying to mitigate the war crimes that they are about to commit. And the fact that the Ukrainian forces have not engaged this huge target outside of Kiev is disturbing, because this convoy has a lot of combat capability, and there is still less than 50% of the Russians engaged in this battle. We are about to see horrendous, horrifying street-to-street fighting.
Street to street.
Yep. This is going to be absolutely devastating for Ukrainian civilians.
So, in other words, and again, you're right, and I just want to point out as well that Russia is warning people, civilians, to leave Kyiv, telling them to go. But you're telling us that you don't think the Ukrainians are prepared to protect Kyiv.
I think from a moral point of view, they will give their lives and their blood. They will spill blood to defend Kyiv and defend their country. Capability-wise, I don't think they've got, in the short term, what is necessary against an army that has failed in its first wave. And now we're about to see a horrendous tsunami in the second wave. This is going to be horrific, what the world is about to witness in the next couple of days if the Russians do to Kiev what they started to do in Kharkiv yesterday.
A number of countries, as you know, have promised more weapons to Ukraine. How do they even get there, and how do they get there in time?
Well, they're going to be coming through Poland. And that would be the next thing that if everybody should be watching. What are the Russians going to do to interdict the supply line coming out of Poland into the western part of Ukraine, to stop those systems to get in the hands of Ukrainians so they can go and fight Russians? This battle is long from being over. Putin has got huge strategic issues with the world. He's got issues back home. Ukraine is making him look silly and a blundering fool for what he's just done. And we should never underestimate just how much of a bully and how dangerous Putin will become if he's trying to survive and save his political life.
You mentioned war crimes, and I think it's safe to say a lot of our viewers would just say it's a no-brainer. This is an illegal war. It's more nuanced than that. Now we have the White House and Canada, of course, also investigating, wanting to look at whether or not war crimes have committed. Can you explain to our audience how that would work and why Putin potentially could be investigated? And I say potentially. Go ahead.
And let's go back to the Bosnian Civil War, where in fact there were war crimes that I in fact testified for over 11 years at, with the siege of Sarajevo, and that's not much different than what we are about to see with Kiev and Kharkiv and the other cities. Civilians are non-combatants. And in war, and there has never been a declared war in this case, non-combatants are not part of the picture. If you're wearing a uniform, picking up a rifle and pointing it at somebody else, you can be classified as a combatant. But there's things of military necessity, proportionality, non-combatants, the law of armed conflict, civil law, and in every case here, the Russians have broken about everything I can possibly think of, going back to all my experience of other civil wars and wars in general, that they are shelling civilians, illegal. Cities, no military necessity, because we're not talking about military headquarters or whatnot. Cluster bombs, illegal, etc., etc. This is a simple case of war crimes, notwithstanding what they're trying to do today by warning people we're coming. Mind you, I think the first wave that we saw, they did exercise a degree of restraint, but that's gone. The gloves are off. This is going to be a clear case of war crimes if they keep going the way they are, based on yesterday's examples.
Okay, so then again, help us understand in terms of strategy, if going into Kiev, they try to cut off power, water, communications, is that considered a war crime?
That in itself is probably not a war crime, but the fact that they would, that rocket that hit that apartment block the other day, no military requirement for that. That could be an example of a war crime type of activity. Simplistically, it's whether or not that the prosecutors can prove that the Russian intent was to go after civilians that had no military bearing on the activities. What types of systems did they use? Whether or not they were just trying to cause harm, that would probably start opening up the case to war crimes allegations.
Retired Major General David Fraser, as always, appreciate your time, your analysis, and your expertise. We'll talk to you again.